series that we've called Family Matters. Today we're going to talk about graduates, about the roads that lie ahead of them, about the journey, a journey that not just graduates, but that we're all on. And it really could be summed up in this book called Oh, the Places You Go by Dr. Seuss, which is why I'm wearing a Dr. Seuss tie. I've had a few people go, why are you wearing that? I mean, you already think weird of me anyway, and now I'm wearing Dr. Seuss stuff. So we're going to read through this book and see how it can pertain to the spiritual lessons of leading us to the next sections. Let's see, pages 1 through 15. Congratulations, today is the day. Go ahead to the next slide. There we go. Just follow along. You're off to great places. You're off and away. You have brains in your head. Some of them. You have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. And you're on your own, and you know what you know, and you are the guy who'll decide where to go. You look up and down streets, look them over with care, and some you'll say, I don't choose to go there. With your head full of brains and your shoes full of feet, you're too smart to go down any not-so-good street. And you may not find any you'll want to go down. In that case, of course, you'll head straight out of town. It's open there in the wide open air. Out there, things can happen and frequently do to people as brainy and footsy as you. And when things start to happen, don't worry, don't stew. Just go right along. You'll start happening too. Oh, the places you'll go. You'll be on your way up. You'll be seeing great sights. You'll join the high flyers who soar to high heights. You won't lag behind because you'll have the speed. You'll pass the whole gang and you'll soon take the lead. Wherever you fly, you'll be the best of the best. Wherever you go, you will top the rest. All the places you will go. This book was first published in January of 1990, making it the last published book of Dr. Seuss, who died in 1991 in September. You may not know this, but Dr. Seuss, whose name is Theodore Giesel, was married twice but never had children. He was known to have said, you have them, I'll just entertain them. Oh, the places you'll go. It is written in the second person and uses a future tense. So it says you, meaning this is what's going to happen to this person called you. And it really nails it with its ups and its downs. The choices that will be made and what life can be like. This book has become a very popular gift to graduates. In fact, that's why we have one. This was given to my wife on high school graduation. And the sales spike each spring year to over 300,000 copies, which are mostly for graduates. Now, I'm a firm believer that we are the sum of the choices that we make. There are things that we do that it just causes us to go where we're going because of what we've chosen. We can make excuses, we can cast the blame, but ultimately, we are the result of our choices. If we're without a job, it's because of certain situations. We can try to blame, we can do this, but it's the choices that make, whether it's our bosses who makes the choice or us. I don't want to get off topic here. So we make choices. Our future life started being defined as choices. In Sunday school, we were talking about you can choose how much studying you can do and what kind of studying you can do, and that will determine the amount of a scholarship and what schools you can get into and what kind of a job you'll go to. These choices. We can make choices on who our friends will be. We can choose about what types of clothes we will wear, what kinds of food. And that leads us to where we are today and in the future. It's not a matter of accepting the blame. It's a matter of accepting the responsibility of our choices. And here's the very essence of what I'm going to be saying. If the choices we make yesterday brought you here today, then the choices you make today will take you where you're going tomorrow. So what we chose yesterday brought us here. And what we choose today will take us to where we're going tomorrow. Which means you have control in the direction of your life. I've heard many people say, I just don't like where my life is going. Then change it. Make different choices. In the event of Joseph, the Joseph of the coat of many colors, is a life full of choices. And it had Jacob sat down. If he had sat down and read to this book to Joseph, if Jacob had read, "Oh, the places you'll go," then Dr. Seuss would have really been, in essence, telling a figurative story about Joseph. Joseph and this book are so similar. They're familiar to each other. His life, Joseph's life, was a series of disasters and blessings. Some were the result of bad choices and decisions. Some were the result of good choices. But they're all the result of choices. We're going to be in Genesis 37. We're going to be skimming through different sections of the life events of Joseph. And if we look at it as just a human story, we're going to miss it. In this chapter, God isn't even mentioned in the first chapter, chapter 37. And it's the most unpromising start. Hardly the type of beginning you'd expect of somebody who's going to start this great civilization of mankind. Verse 3 of chapter 37. Jacob loved Joseph more than any of his other children, because Joseph had been born to him in his old age. So one day, Jacob had a special gift made for Joseph, a beautiful robe. We can tell first off that this story is going to have a bad beginning because Jacob made a poor choice of picking a favorite over all of his children. This robe, this flowing robe, was worn by a VP, and who didn't have to do any manual labor. If anyone in the family was supposed to be privileged, it's the oldest. And I am the oldest in my family. I'm the best looking, the smartest, the hardest worker. I am entitled to it all. Okay, that's the firstborn mentality. Firstborn mentality. Yeah, I just choked on my own words. So this robe should have been given to Reuben, the oldest, not Joseph, who is the spoiled little baby. And the foolishness of Joseph's father destroyed any chance that Joseph could have had a good relationship, a normal relationship with his brothers. Now, I want you to be really honest. I don't like Joseph in this section. It could be because I'm the oldest. Okay? I think he was an immature, obnoxious brat. That's just how I read it. If I had been one of the older brothers, I would have voted with the majority. Let's get rid of him. Okay? This little pompous, spoiled daddy's boy is not going to tell me what to do. And some of you may be, oh, Donnie, that's a terrible attitude. I mean, Joseph is a man of God. Well, yeah, but not at this moment. And I don't like this. In the future part, what's coming up later, yeah, he's a great man of God. But at this moment, he's annoying. And I think we can see. Let's look at some of the things that came Joseph's way and some of the choices he made, how that affected his life. And the character in here is named You in this book. And so in your bulletin, it'll say You and Joseph have similarities. And first off, the similarities we see between You and Joseph is he chose to do what was wrong. There are a couple of things that the Bible records that might help us to understand what was going on in the head of those 10 boys, those older brothers, who decided that life would be a lot easier and better without their little Joseph brother. In 37, Joseph had a dream of how his brothers would all bow down to him. Okay, as the older brother, that's not going to go over well. Okay? Now here's what he did. He rushed out and told his brothers, "You're going to bow down to me. You're going to follow me. I'm going to be in charge of you." And then he was wondering, why are you so mad at me? This is true. Okay? Genesis 37, verse 8. His brothers said to him, "Do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us?" And they hated him all the more because of his dream and what he had said. Notice it said all the more, meaning they already had some hate for him. And this was just breeding and brooding and growing. If you had a spoiled daddy's little favorite who could do no wrong little brother, how would you respond to him when he said, "I'm going to be your boss"? Some of you might be the spoiled daddy's little could do no wrong. It's not going to sit real well with his brothers. One day Joseph is sent by his father to go check on his brothers. Go be the tattletale. How are you going to feel about tattletales? Okay? So remember, he's sending him off. And we know Joseph wasn't planning on getting himself into any work because what does he wear? His coat of many colors. I'm the boss, remember, boys? Look at me, I'm daddy's favorite. Okay? And when the brothers saw him coming, they decided, we're done with this. Look what it says, verses 19 and 20. They said to one another, "Here comes this dreamer. Come now, let us kill him and throw him into one of the pits. Then we'll say that a fierce animal has devoured him, and we'll see what becomes of his dreams." Okay, first off, boys will just talk. I'm gonna kill you when I said that to my brother, and I never killed him, I just beat him up. He beat me up later, so it's okay. So were they really intending on it? But remember, it said they hated him. This isn't he didn't like him, like I just didn't like my brother because he tattled him. They hated him. There is anger and hatred. This shows that little Joseph kept rubbing it in that he was the favorite, that he is going to be the boss. And these brothers intended to end the story. Now, thankfully, that's not the end. And what this shows us is sometimes we bring persecution upon ourselves by our bad choices. Sometimes we make a bad choice, and then people will remind us of it and bring it to us, and it's really our own fault because we chose to do the wrong things. Joseph wasn't picked on because he was righteous. He wasn't out there saying, "God wants you to follow me." I'm Daddy's favorite. I'm here telling you, you better do what I say. And while murder was never justified, we do need to realize that Joseph was the author of his misfortune here in round one. Sometimes we don't need to look any further than the mirror to see who's to blame for what's happened to us because of the choices we've made. But that's not where the story ends. It started off, you're going as high, you're going to top the rest. Except when you don't. Because sometimes you won't. I'm sorry to say so, but sadly it's true that bang-ups and hang-ups can happen to you. You can get all hung up in a prickly perch, and your gang will fly on and you'll be left in a lurch. You'll come down from the lurch with an unpleasant bump, and the chances are then that you'll be in a slump. And when you're in a slump, you're not in for much fun. Unslumping yourself is not easily done. You'll come to a place where the streets are not marked. Some windows are lighted, but mostly they're dark. A place where you can strain both your elbow and chin. Don't you dare stay out. Don't you dare go in. How much can you lose? How much can you win? And if you go in, should you turn left or right? Or right in 3/4, or maybe not quite. Or go back around and sneak in from behind. Simple, it's not, I'm afraid you'll find. For a mind maker up or two, make up his mind. See, he's going flying, he's high, he's great, and then, because of a choice, because of something, he's down. But even in the midst of being down, there is something else that you and Joseph have in common. He chose to do what was right. You'll recall that when Joseph gets to Egypt, he's sold to Potiphar. Everything went well during this time. You could see that anything that Joseph touched turned to gold. He's the daddy's favorite, and it's working for him here, even though he doesn't have his older brothers. Verse 6 of chapter 39. So Potiphar left everything he had in Joseph's care. With Joseph in charge, he did not concern himself with anything except the food he ate. He is basically in this verse saying, I trust Joseph with everything, and I don't need to worry about except how much food I want to eat. This slave is wonderful. The young, arrogant upstart has finally made something of himself. Perhaps he needed humbling. I can tell you personally, humbling is not fun. It's not an enjoyable time, but it's a necessity to help you to choose what is right. Perhaps he needed humbling. Perhaps if Daddy hadn't made so much of him when he was a little kid and played him as the obvious favorite, maybe he wouldn't need this much humbling. But I do know that it often takes something to make us humble. And so Joseph here, he seems to have a great future. The Bible tells us that he was well built. He was handsome. I know that feeling. I didn't even believe that one. It looked like at this point he had the world by his tail until he got hung up in a lurch. Potiphar's wife decides that she wants this young Joe. And she tries to seduce him, but he refuses. And the Hebrew in here actually shows that she constantly tried several times. Joseph's boss trusted him with everything. And he wasn't about to betray him by sleeping with his wife, and he tells her this. And that's when it happens. One day, Joseph's attending to his duties around the house when nobody else was there. And listen to what it says. Verses 12 through 20. She came and grabbed him by the cloak, demanding. So you can see here, she knows what she wants. She's going to get it. Come on, sleep with me. Joseph tore himself away, but he left his cloak in her hand as he ran from the house. When she saw she was holding his cloak and he had fled, she called out to her servants, and soon all the men came around me. Look, my husband has brought this Hebrew slave here to make fools of us. He came into my room to rape me, but I screamed. When he heard me scream, he ran out and got away, but he left his cloak behind with me. She kept the cloak with her until her husband came home, and she told her the story. The Hebrew slave brought him to the house, tried to come in and fool around with me, but when I screamed, he ran outside, leaving this cloak with me. Potiphar was furious when he heard his wife's story about how Joseph had treated her. So he took Joseph, threw him into prison where the king's prisoners were held, and there he remained. Is that fair to Joseph? There are so many times in life you're going to be tempted to say, that's not fair. I've heard it from my own kids. I've said it. I've heard it from other people. Life is not fair. So get over it. It's not fair. This is proof. Joseph had to know the outcome when he first told her no. After all, what do we know about a woman scorned? Biblically. Sometimes Joseph made the right choices and they worked out for him. Sometimes he made the right choices and it wasn't fair. They didn't work out. But that didn't make his decisions wrong here. Most of us know the rest of the event here, how after Joseph had been in prison, he became trusted and he started leading in the prison. And he was valuable, and in fact the warden put him in charge of everything and everyone. And during that time, he interpreted a dream for a couple of the people there. The chief cupbearer. And Pharaoh released this man 2 years later who spoke up for Joseph, who released him from prison. And Joseph, the slave who was thrown in prison, who stays in prison for a long time, becomes the second most powerful man in Egypt. In his new position, he was able to plan ahead and save Egypt from a famine, and had the opportunity to save his family when they were suffering because of the famine as well. So we see his choices were not fair, the outcomes. but he made the right choice. The guy in this book had the same things happening to him. Oh, the places you go, there is fun to be done. There are points to be scored. There are games to be won. And the magical things you can do with that ball will make you the winningest winner of all. Fame. You'll be famous as famous can be, with the whole wide world watching you win on TV. Except when they don't, because sometimes they won't. I'm afraid that sometimes you'll play lonely games too, games you can't win because you'll play against you. See, the guy in this story keeps going on. He keeps pressing on. He's choosing to keep going, to keep moving. And Joseph did the same thing. See, you and Joseph have a similarity. They chose to be faithful. They kept going. Whenever Joseph was a teenager, his adversity turned him into the man of God. When he learned that making the pompous, arrogant statements were not right, and yet standing up to Potiphar and proclaiming, I will not sin against God. On 4 separate occasions, the Bible says the Lord was with Joseph. Nobody else in Scripture gets that acknowledgement. Isn't that really interesting? The Lord was with Joseph in the pit, in Potiphar's house, in prison, in the palace. Nobody else gets that. We see his commitment to God when Potiphar's wife makes her advancements. Look what he says in verse 9 of chapter 39. How could I do this great evil and sin against God? Why was he making this choice? He didn't want to dishonor Potiphar. But more importantly, he was being faithful to God. He knew it was wrong. The laws of God were deeply ingrained. Here's where we can see something great with his father. His father's teaching him about the Word of God. His father instilling within him. That's why Joseph called this an evil and a sin against God. He didn't try to justify or rationalize it. He knew it was wrong. He didn't call it a failing, an illness, or a mistake. It is a great evil and a sin. King David realized the value of having the laws of God etched within his own being. In Psalms 119:11, I have stored up your words in my heart that I may not sin against you. It says I hide it, and it doesn't mean hide it and keep it from view. It means etch it, put it into your souls, put the Word of God so hard into you that you don't sin against God. Joseph chose to be faithful even when faced with. How many of you have faced problems even though you were being faithful? Yeah. Guess what? You're going to do it again. God didn't promise you an easy life. God didn't promise a perfect life. He promised a good one and a future one. Even when faced with being alone, as Joseph was at times, and the character you. All alone, while you like it or not, alone will be something you'll be quite a lot. And when you're alone, there's a very good chance you'll meet things that scare you right out of your pants. There are some down the road between hither and yon that can scare you so much you won't want to go on. But on you will go, though the weather be foul. On you will go, though your enemies prowl. On you will go through the heck and cracks howl, upward up many a frightening creek, though your arms may get sore and your sneakers may leak. On and on you will hike, and I know you'll hike far and face up to your problems, whatever they are. You'll get mixed up, of course, as you already know. You'll get mixed up with many strange birds as you go. So be sure when you step with care and great tact, and remember that life's a great balancing act. Just never forget to be dexterous in depth, and never mix up your right foot with your left. Too many times I think the message is preached today that if we are righteous, if we dot all our I's and crosses all our T's, we're going to be all right. Life's going to be just fine. And if things happen that go wrong, or if there's illness or setbacks or problems, it's because of some sin in your life. Oh, something bad happened to you? Well, you deserve it. You've done this. There are times we deserve those. But it's not always true. Joseph, did he deserve to be thrown in that prison? Did he deserve to be thrown in the pit after his brother? Maybe. Even when Joseph was in prison, the Bible records that the Lord was with him. The problem with the name it and claim it philosophy of Christianity is that it makes God into some type of celestial Santa Claus or divine genie who makes all your hurts go away. Well, I prayed and God didn't take it away. I must have some sin in my life. Well, I'm trying to do this and God just hasn't done this. He's not happy with us. If bad things happen to you, that doesn't mean you're making the wrong choices all the time. Well, what do you think about Job? He was being a righteous man, and yet afflictions happened to him. If only good things happen to people who only do good, what do you say about the Christians who are trying to live in Iraq or Africa right now? We are going to face problems in this world. You are going to make right choices that still bring negative consequences on you, because this world is full of sin. This world is not the paradise. This world is not the prize. God is. And so we need to remain faithful even in the midst of those hard times. Even when I made the right choice and still got in trouble for it. Alistair Smith of the Salvation Army made this statement concerning the early days of the Salvation Army verses later on. He said, "The world threw bricks at us. Now they throw banquets. I sometimes think that the bouquets do us more harm than the bricks." I know when I'm faced with problems, even though I'm doing the right thing, it spurs me on. But when people start flowering me with praises and stuff, I relax my guard. And I sometimes take my feet off that path of following what is right. The last thing that you, the character, and Joseph had in common is they chose to be persistent. Galatians 6:9 says, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we'll reap a harvest if we do not give up." Notice it doesn't say, don't give up so you can get rewarded now. We like the fast food mentality. I want it my way, right away, now. That's it. Whether it comes with sports, education, fulfillment in life and marriage and whatever. We want it now. God grant me patience now. And yet that's not how it works. Let us not become weary of doing good, for at the proper time. That doesn't mean my timing or your timing. That means God's proper timing. We'll reap a harvest, not get a little prize. The secret of that passage is that last few words, though. If we don't give up. If we don't give up, we'll reach it. But if we give up, we get nothing. Billy Sunday, a pro baseball player turned evangelist, summed it up by saying, "Stopping at third adds no more to the score than striking out." So if I got to third base, but it didn't help the team because you didn't make it. Sometimes life is going to be like a roller coaster. Graduates, I want you to hear this, because right now you're like, wow, I'm about to enter the world. And the rest of us are like, wish you could go back. Because it's not all that it's cracked up to be. You're going to face some hard things. You're going to face some things that you're like, this is not worth it. Think about how Joseph felt looking up at his brothers laughing at him. Think about how Joseph felt when he was thrown into prison, pleading his innocence. Do you think Joseph was tempted to give up? Was he tempted with Potiphar's wife to say, you know what, fine. I'm doing all I can and I'm a slave. When he was forgotten for years, Was he tempted to give up? When he was governor, was he tempted to take out his revenge on his brothers? Instead, Joseph chose to stay true to God. He lived his life pointed at following God through the mountains, through the valleys. He followed God. And you and I need to do the same, whether you're graduating high school, you're graduating into the next section of your life, into adulthood, graduating into parenthood, graduating into grandparents. We're all graduating into something. We are all making choices that are leading us down in life. And we need to remember that God alone knows the places that you're going to go. So we need to follow his plan, his storyline for us. Because if we do, you will succeed. Yes, you will indeed. 98.75% guaranteed. Kids, you'll move mountains because we know faith can move mountains. So be your name Baxbaum or Bixby or Gray or Mordecai, Alaban, Allen, O'Shea. You're off to great places. Today's your day. Your mountain is waiting. So get on your way. We're going to face a lot of choices, and I want you to know there are a lot of places that God is going to lead you. There are a lot of places in this book, this simple little colorful, weird, illustrated book, can really teach us or illustrate what the scriptures have to say, because God is going to lead you. And if you follow the right path, if you make the right choices in the proper time, God's going to reward you. So whether you're taking that little piece of yarn and flipping it over, you're grabbing your newborn baby or grandbaby, or whatever it is, make sure you're taking steps to follow the path of God. We're going to have a time of invitation. If you need to make a choice, won't you come? Let's stand and let's sing.